Let's get into it because Uncle Steve then asks Trump's first month. Is he keeping his promises? What are the themes of his actions? How is Trump shaping the relationships in North America and North Atlantic and with Europe relationships? David, I'm going to let you start us off.
I would say first month promises kept for sure. Yeah, he's doing exactly exactly what I hoped he'd do when he got into office. And I was just I was perusing the news not too long ago, earlier today, and I guess a new a new poll, and of course, polls are polls, but this poll suggested, and they polled both people who identified as Democrats, as Republicans, and also as independents, and actually broke those down by percentage. And it turns out that Trump's policies as so far are wildly popular with Americans. Like there's no Trump voting regret happening.
Yeah, I like to look at it also in terms of how much work he's putting in. When you look at it, it's been a month. Dude, this guy's got a lot of crap done. Like, yeah, it's through executive orders and stuff, but that's been established from the Obama era of these the amount of executive orders is what I'm referring to. And to have that be repeated with Biden as well as Trump's first term, but to get the insane, not only same amount, but the effectiveness of them as well. And how much he has gotten done and how much Elon has gotten done. Now, I get it. There's controversy. Trump's Trump, Elon's Elon. They're buddy too. And people are having issues with that, especially in the conservative space for some reason I haven't really fully dived into. But you can't say they're not getting stuff done, and you can't say they're being lazy. It's really interesting to see kind of a Trump presidency with the what's it called? The barriers removed, per se. I feel like it's only going to get even more crazy and more interesting as we go along.
Well, I hope things don't get more crazy.
Yeah, maybe not more crazy, more like...
I'm hoping for things to get more boring.
Yeah,
I would like
nice.
some more boringness. Because right now what's happening...
It's a transitionary period.
What he's doing right now is necessary stuff. Stuff that, it's stupid that it's necessary, but a lot of it is necessary, what he's doing. But yeah, my hope is that he can get all the necessary stuff sorted out quickly so that we can get back on track to, having life being a little bit less bizarre, less wild, less out there. Just, let's get back to boring.
Yeah, back to boring sounds pretty good to me. I know there's some major shifts people are concerned about, like maybe the liquidation of the IRS and the creation of the ERS, the External Revenue Service.
I'm not worried about the liquidation
of the IRS. Well,
I'm just saying
there's some people out there concerned about that. And I don't know. I'm not an economist. I can't tell you what. But I'll tell you what I am interested in. Dude, have you seen the Doge counter on the National Debt Counter website thingy? Have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
Dude, it's crazy. In 2 to 3 weeks, they've already saved the government $110 billion. $110 billion in 20 days. That's crazy, man. Holy cow. And it just keeps going up. And it's kind of like the debt counter. Yeah, the debt counter is going up, but you can tell it's getting slower. And the Doge counter, which is, cutting a lot of jobs, a lot of waste, and a ton of fat in our government, which I'm a fan of cutting fat in the government. It takes a lot of hard work for me to do that, but in the government, just get it done, and I think that's cool to see. And also Gulf of America, it's got a nice ring to it. That's what I'm excited about. So anyway.
Yeah, that's funny too, that the Gulf of America change is the only Trump policy in the poll that didn't have a majority of Americans supporting it. So, which
Yeah,
I
I thought
find
that was strange.
which I find really funny.
Yeah.
Which, it totally lines up with kind of how he does things. He likes to throw ridiculous things out there for people to, squabble about, and then he gets on with the real work in the background, kind of, which, yeah.
Yeah, you can't say the guy's lazy. Like, dang. Like, I'm just impressed at the pace. And I feel like it's only going to keep the same pace as we keep going. So, also, I'm a big fan of getting back that Panama Canal. I'm a big fan of that. I want that Panama Canal back in. Like, Jimmy, I'm sorry, Jimmy, but that was a bad call. You should never have done that. You made a lot of bad calls. Jimmy
Yeah, there's
Carter.
a lot of
like
things.
a lot of bad calls.
A lot of things
that
Jimmy
one,
should never have
I remember
done.
reading my history book when I was young, and I'm like, holy crap, we gave that up? God dang, that's stupid. With 2 O's. So, anyway, I'm glad we're going to get it back. Or at least, mostly, for now. So, anyway, that's next question. Steve also asks, what can we make of the conservative trend with elections in America and in Europe? This is a very interesting thing. I'll say something. Sargon of Akkad recently put up a video, and I'm a connoisseur of that guy. I like that guy a lot. Not a huge fan. I think you and me are on the same page. And not a huge fan of his Lotus Eaters podcast with all the different hosts, but we like Sargon. And he's this British fella from the UK and talks a lot of politics. He had a video called You Sow the Wind and You Reap the Whirlwind. And it basically was him ranting about how the left's reaction to what is happening in America they're reaping what they've sowed. And I thought that was really interesting, like sowing a wind and reaping a whirlwind. I'm sure it's from some book he read, is why he titled that.
It's from the Bible.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I can't remember what verse.
Yeah, let's see.
Let me see if I can look that up.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I could turn out to be wrong, but I'm like 90% sure it's from the Bible. I just need to.
I just think it's interesting while you look that up. I think it's interesting because, and this is the last thing I'll say on that, is you see this trend in some European countries where the shift is happening, where people see the policies that have been implemented in the last 10 plus years, 15, 20 years, and they've just brought nothing but ruin. And now it's time to take control and be proud of where you live back. And I think that's what I got from that. And also to see the reaction to the trend leaning like majority Trump and majority of the vote and everything like that. I know here in California, it's very one-sided one way, but I think there's a lot of people here that support Trump in California as well. And I feel like it's just interesting to see that. So anyway, David, did you happen to get that Bible verse, or is it from the Bible? Let me look it up too, just to see what we got. Sow the wind and reap the whirlwind. Let me type this up here. Professional podcasting on the fly.
Hosea 8:7.
Yeah. 8:7. What does it say, David?
I think
I found
Hosea
it
8:7. For they have sown the wind, and they shall reap the whirlwind.
Hath no stock. The bud shall yield no meal. If so be it yield, the strangers shall swallow it up. I wonder what this whole thing is in context. I'm not familiar with Hosea very much, but it's interesting. But yeah, what are you thinking, David, about all this this Americanization back to boring, as you coined it, as well as I'm no political person in terms of expert at all. I'm no political expert. I'm no economic expert. But it's interesting to see the tide turning at the moment, especially in Europe. And I think the UK is next, as much as the people in power at Europe don't want that to be. So what do you think of all this?
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of a natural result of what's been going on for the past probably like 30, 40 years. Just the powers that be have tightened their grip over people in supposedly democratic nations for years and years now. And the concerns of the people that these rulers supposedly represent have fallen on deaf ears for years and years and years now. And so this is just kind of the natural end result. At some point, people feel like the grand liberal experiment has failed, and they're looking for an alternative. And so what you find is that alternative that people are seeking is tending to be returning to conservative values, returning to traditional values, which is really funny. That it's really funny to me that this is happening a lot in Europe right now.
Yeah.
Where you have people basically saying over there that they're done with democracy, kind of a thing, because it doesn't work. And I think it's so funny because it's like, if you actually look at how European politics are, it's like they don't really have anything that could be called a truly democratic process. Like, you basically vote for, over in most European countries, you basically vote for a party, and then the party just puts in whoever they want. And then once they put in the person that they want, the government that they want, then they just do whatever they want with the government. Whereas here, you have less of that, partially because of the two-party system.
Yeah.
And also because we have things like direct election of congressmen, so we have less of that over here.
More representatives, senators, for example, congressmen.
Yeah, so it's like
district leaders, supervisors.
No. What I'm saying is we don't have over here. We have less of the idea of just voting for a party and then hoping they
make the right
put
choice.
in the people that we want in there. Like, in general, like, you can have a switcheroo can happen from time to time.
Totally.
But in general, people vote for the person that they want in office.
Yeah.
And they don't vote for a party and then hope that the party puts in the people that they want into the government. So, and the real indicator of that sort of disparity, I think, is in Kamala Harris's nomination as the Democratic Party candidate, because primary elections are just about the most undemocratic thing there are. Like, you don't, like, when it comes to primary elections, the party decides who their nominee is. But because in America we have this expectation that the will of the people be respected in elections, when parties do actually disregard what voters want and install a nominee of their own choosing, people react badly to it. Because, so like Kamala Harris was basically installed as the Democratic nominee because Joe Biden stepped down. And people were upset about that because the people who voted in the Democratic Party primaries voted for Joe Biden. And they were well within their right to do what they did because he stepped down, and so they had their process to find a replacement. But the fact that they replaced the person that
got voted
for by someone who was by far the absolute least popular candidate out of all of them,
Even in 2020.
Yeah, in 2020, she dropped out of the
Yeah, she
presidential
was the lowest on
campaign.
the polls.
She dropped out of the presidential campaign, had no votes, like no, or should I say no delegates at all whatsoever. So, like the fact that Joe Biden was what the people who voted in the Democratic primary wanted. But then when he stepped down and the party replaced him with somebody who was bottom on the list in both elections,
Yeah.
people were upset by that. And that tells you something, because in Europe, that happens all the time.
Yep.
That would not be a remarkable thing in Europe. And that tells you something about the difference between how Americans approach democracy and how Europeans approach democracy. So it's really funny to me that you have all these Europeans who are quote unquote fed up with democracy. And it's like, man,
did you guys have in the first place?
Yeah. Did you ever have democracy?
Yeah.
Because some of these European countries are more like totalitarian dictatorships than liberal democracies, and yet they're democratic in name only, much like the Democratic People's Republic of North Korea or the Democratic Republic of the Congo,
Or Republic of China. And so on and so forth. I think it's interesting because when you look at our system, you had a Republican primary and a Democratic primary. That's how it works here, or whatever party primary. And those winning voted persons are going to win. And they dropped Joe and went with Harris. And I think that's one of the many ingredients in 2024 that got Trump elected. Not just the assassinations, not just Cash, RFK, Tulsi, and a whole bunch of other people who are former Democrats. I don't know if Cash was, but Tulsi and RFK specifically as well. And I believe Vivek was also a former Democrat. They all switched sides to say, hey, we're switching because we think you're the ticket, and we also believe in you, and we think you will get this country on track. I feel like for those out there that really have an issue with Trump, you got to look at another reason why people voted for him. Having Tulsi as the head of the director of intelligence is super cool. She was also ran in 2020 on the Democratic ticket and ended Kamala's career, period. Like, put a period on her career. Like, a fine note on it. And if you want to go look at the debate in 2020, go look at it because it's legendary, and I love her for that. I also think it's really cool that RFK joined forces with Trump. It was the assassination attempt as well, Kamala swapping from Joe, and many others as well. I think that got him elected, and for sure got him elected. I remember leading up to the election, people were like, no, he's making deals with the establishment so he can, because they know he's going to win. He's going to beat Joe. And I'm like, maybe, but that's stuff we just don't know. And I don't want to believe that really, but depends on if there's proof or not. But from what I've seen, the fact that Cash is now in for head of FBI, Tulsi's in, and RFK, they're going after everybody. And I'm like, I'm all for it. Like, get some of this crap out of here and get some people that actually know and act like adults can run this country. So that's why I think a lot of people voted for Trump as well. And that's what's his name? Zachary Levi said on a podcast interview months ago. He said, there's a reason why I'm supporting Trump, and he's a Hollywood actor, and his career is not amazing right now, but even at that time, but he said, I'm coming out in support because I'm voting for RFK and Tulsi because I want them to get in there and make some difference. I'm especially big on RFK fixing some of the health stuff. So, but anyway, I feel like those are the people to look out for, because I feel like those folks, as the years go on, are going to be some determining forces going on in Europe. I feel like, especially the UK, I feel like the UK is next in kind of this kind of turn of the tide. Whether that be a good thing or bad thing, in your opinion out there, it's up to you. But in my opinion, I feel like the support of candidates in Europe from support from RFK and Tulsi and Cash and Trump. Those are going to be the ones that people I think are going to be looking at because there's big change coming in 2025, economically especially, and culturally. We're already seeing it. So to go back with Europe, I think like that's the next step. So I guess we'll see though. I could be totally wrong.